what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just a beautiful morning, it's a beautiful evening. We are here to discuss Oklahoma. And this is the opening song from Oklahoma, one of the more famous songs in music theater history. Oh, What a Beautiful Morning, sung by Gordon McCrae. I'm going to turn it off so you can hear me a little better, because right now I am a little more important. And shortly I'm going to show you me. And there I am. I'm Jonathan Betzler, one of your hosts. And as you can see, even behind me, we are discussing Oklahoma from 1955. That is our classic movie of the week. So before we get started, let me do some quick intros. Let's start with the very handsome Cowman. How you doing, J Money?
Oh, me. I'm okay.
I see that. And how's our farmer friend, Davy Joe?
Doing well.
That's all you got for me?
I would have thought that Davy Joe was more of a cowman than I was. I'm kind of surprised that I ended up being the cowboy in this situation. I mean, look at Davy Joe. He is built for ranch life, one way or the other.
I think your mentalities, I think it goes the other way around.
No, I think you need the strong, silent type on a cow ranch, and that is where Davy Joe comes in. He's a man.
Well, either way, the trivia. I forgot to set the timer, so we get a little extra minute. The trivia. We had two trivia questions on this one. The one that I teased last week is this. The hint was that this is the first film ever to be released in the 70mm Todd AO format. 70mm is very much talked about right now with the release of Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight. So this was the very first film to release in the Todd AO format of 70mm, which means when they shot the film, they actually shot the film twice. Or they did each scene, they had to get each scene right for two different cameras. Only occasionally were they able to use two cameras at once. So there's actually ultimately two different versions of the film on shot by two different cameras. So that's the clue number one. The clue that you would have seen on Facebook is that a supporting actor from last week's Indie also is a supporting actor in this one, and that, of course, is Eddie Albert. We have back-to-back Eddie Albert movies, who played Gregory Peck's friend in Roman Holiday, and here he plays the Persian peddler, Ali Hakim, and we're going to talk about him a little later, too. So back-to-back Eddie Albert movies, which is kind of exciting. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. Here is one of the more iconic images from Oklahoma. Summary. Based on the play Green Grow the Lilacs, on the surface, Oklahoma is about two couples, two budding romances in the months before the territory of Oklahoma is officially inducted into the American Union. As a Broadway show, Oklahoma is the single most important piece of art in the history of the American theater. It's the film adaptation, however, that's up for discussion today. And in fairness, it took Rodgers and Hammerstein 12 years to bring it from the Broadway stage to a film adaptation, because they actually wanted to keep control of it. They produced it themselves. This was not made at a major studio. Rodgers and Hammerstein and a company called Magna Pictures financed the films themselves, so Rodgers and Hammerstein could have complete control. And so it took them a long time, and by the time they made the film, some of the innovations that the stage play had done had been already made their way to other films. So that's kind of an interesting dichotomy that I wanted to bring up. So it's time for opening thoughts, and unfortunately, Davey sent me a pretty nasty text over the course of the weekend while watching the movie. So I already know what he thinks, but he's about to share.
You don't know anything. You don't know.
Davey?
I have a list of positives here. Overall, no, I didn't enjoy it, but I have nice things to say as well. So.
J Money, I get the sense that you do not automatically reject musicals in the same way.
Whoa. I don't automatically reject musicals, so let's...
Well, interesting side note, I'm not really a fan of musicals. In terms of live theater, I'm a much bigger fan of musicals in terms of movies, basically, of film. I think because I buy into the weirdness of them much easier when there's the fourth wall there in front of me. My reaction
it's different in that it seems like, generally speaking, one gets away with more in theater. But we can talk about that another time. Go ahead.
Sure. Well, just to sum this up and to tie it back to what I just said, I like this movie, and I thought it was really fascinating, but I also think that maybe I like it for the wrong reasons. I mean, I just think it's a very weird movie.
I mean, I think that's part of why I like about it as well. But let's get into all that. I also want to talk about the thoughts of people that we had at the screening. Jay Money was at the screening that we had. Did you have a good time?
I did. That was fantastic. We have wonderful fans.
We screened it in New York on August 28th, and overall, Davey is in the minority, I think, because overall people were really, really positive about this film, and they were surprised. I think, there's a couple people that knew the film, like women mostly, that were like excited when it first came on. Because one thing is, I don't tell viewers. I don't know if you guys, the viewers at home, know that I don't actually share with people what they're going to see when they come to a classic movie screening that I host. They have no idea. They just show up blindly, and I show them whatever. So the movie comes on, and there were some groans and there was some excitement, but by the end of the movie, everybody pretty much enjoyed it, and the people that weren't expecting it to be good were really surprised with the film's depth and darkness under the surface. I think the songs were a particular pleasure to the audience, and also we had a great discussion afterwards. We covered a wide variety of topics. Wouldn't you say, J Money?
I do, although I'd be hard-pressed to remember most of it at this point.
Well, that's what I'm here for, with an outline to remind you.
Very good.
In terms of my thoughts, it's one of my favorite movies of all time, which is why Davey was trying to hurt my feelings when he sent me that text. Now, granted, I grew up with it, but the more I watch it, the more I find about it, and that's why I think like Jay Money and I are in sync about that. I find it to be complex, emotional. I cried not only watching it in August 28th, but I watched the commentary to prepare for tonight, and I cried then too during the commentary. I find it to be sweet, creative, smart, and joyous. So I obviously am a big fan of the film. Top 64 films of all time for me. So I'm going to give you guys a choice of where we go first with this, because I've got a buttload of topics to talk about. So let's just talk about like the undercurrent stuff here, and so we can talk about classism, racism, sexism, the underlying darkness, or pre-state optimism. Pick your poison.
This is just like Jeopardy.
It is like Jeopardy.
I'll pick racism for 800, Alex.
Are you on board with racism?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like a lot of this film is unintentionally racist potentially, but there's a big discussion about a character in the middle film. I sense that's where you're going, Jay Mike.
No, I honestly, that was the one that I guess I don't think I'm clear about that one at all. So that's why I picked it. I'm really curious to hear what's going on.
I wanted you to talk about it. Well, obviously, like the big controversy here with this film.
Okay, fair enough.
Film relates around the casting of Eddie Albert, or the aforementioned Eddie Albert. He's supposed to be Persian. His name is Ali Hakim, they call him, which I don't mind the mispronunciation of the name, but in reality, he's Ali Hakim, and he's supposed to be Arabic. And it's a role that has been problematic throughout the centuries. Not centuries. I mean, it's hadn't been a full century since it opened on Broadway. But it's throughout since 1943. This has been of wide discussion. I mean, it was cast a little more appropriately in the most recent adaptation with Hugh Jackman. But I mean, this came up a lot at the screening that like this casting of Eddie Albert as the peddler. He puts on a little accent. And they call him Persian, so it's it's not exactly Arabic, but also so there's that racism within that's not in the diegesis, but also within the diegesis, the way he's sort of treated by the other people, which sort of goes along with the classism thing, but in his case, it's supposed to be racism. So that's how the film that's sort of the racist qualities of the film qualities. So you guys didn't seem to notice that or think about that or what?
Oh, I noticed it.
What do you think?
Here's the thing. I don't think there's malicious intent there. I don't know how much that matters, but I don't think there was malicious intent. I don't think this is not.
I hesitate to say it's ever. I mean, like at least in casting, it's ever like actually malicious.
This
is ignorant potentially. This
is not Breakfast at Tiffany's, and
you're right. That's a really good example and a really good point.
So I mean, I was a person who came.
That was one of the top 5 points that Davies made. So.
I also, I think that the performance, in contrast with our last film, it was not so good to me. But I didn't think it was. I wouldn't go so far as to call it ugly. From
a racist point of view, I disagree. I disagree with the performance. I actually like all the performances in the movie, but that's, maybe we'll get to that a little later. Anything on this both either the casting or the film, the racism within the diegesis?
Look, I mean, the casting is problematic. I mean, I think you're gonna a lot of the same stuff is gonna come up when Gods of Egypt comes out. Just having.
Well, they've already apologized for that, so it's okay.
Oh, okay.
So.
So I think that as if you're a Persian person, I can see how you could be upset by this.
Or an Arabic person. J Money, anything on this, or do you want to move on?
Yeah, I mean, it's like came back to me as you guys were talking about why racism came up in this. It's funny because I remember thinking at the time while watching this that I kept waiting for the reveal, and the reveal for me was that he is just a normal, average oils salesman, like just a slick guy who's putting on this sort of a personality to try to seem more exotic, and then that never came. So I guess in hindsight, yeah, it was kind of a racist stereotype.
That's a really, like he was fake Persian the whole time.
Yeah, exactly, because I would be helping him with his sales because he seemed exotic and interesting, and because of that he could actually get more work out of it. So I guess, and also because he is just so completely unbelievable as a Persian man. Like it just seemed like such an obvious fake
but
thing.
I don't think any of that's performance. I think he's very charming, and I think he's like.
Well, his performance has nothing to do. But his performance. Yeah, sure, but look, he's very charming in his performance. Performance has nothing to do with authenticity in terms of his background.
Right. No. We're on the same page. We're on the same page. I'm just making sure.
Yeah. I guess I didn't really pick up on sort of the classist and the racist overtones that you're talking about in terms of the way that other characters are reacting to him. Because again, I was identifying him as like the slick talking, snake oil salesman that nobody would like regardless of his background. So for me, it's like I just put everything lumped together. I didn't really think of it in terms of them disliking him for his racial mixture. But yes, of course, that probably was ultimately the point. And what are you going to do? This stuff is going to come up all the time in films from any time between now and this, before film. So. Well,
also, but I mean, like there's also, and I mean, like I don't know how true this is, but it seems strange to me. There is no one else of color anywhere around, and like anywhere in this movie, or I mean, or depicted or anything like that, which doesn't necessarily seem as true to the time period as. But that's a guess on my part. I obviously wasn't there, and I mean, I've only done a cursory amount of research on it.
Well, it's and I guess this will probably get into other things we're going to talk about, but it's certainly a very romanticized idea of the West, and that certainly plays into a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, and that sort of plays into my PreState Optimism. But I mean, like, so we got a couple different places to go right now, a couple different tangents. But let's go. We touched on it a little bit, so let's go with the classism point of view, and I think that's a big part of an undercurrent of the movie, typified by this idea of the farmer and the cowman, which is like sort of translated today, and this picture, which is pretty low resolution, and I apologize. I couldn't find much on Oklahoma picture-wise, so I'm very sorry, J Money. I know Davey doesn't care, so I'm not going to apologize to him.
Jeez.
But I mean, like obviously, this is representing. Like the upper class and the lower class to some degree, and the difference is the haves and the have-nots. Like the working man is the cowboy in this case, whereas the farmers are actually almost like the 1% to some degree. Farmer and the cowman can be friends is I think it's a dance number, but it's a remarkable number in that in what it says on a grander scale about. Classism and relationships, between classes. So anyway, that's my pitch. Who's buying?
Yeah, I'll buy that, but I guess I would say at the time that audiences that would react to it in the movie were probably reacting to it in a way that we're reacting to it now. Like it's just kind of a funny. It's sort of like, haha, that's cute, but I don't think.
Well, that's what I think is so great about this movie and the theater piece in general is that it's cute, but there's this underbelly there. You know what I mean? Like it's there.
Yeah, but I mean, do you feel like people took the idea of the classist the structure you're talking about very seriously at this point? I mean, yes, we're all, everybody.
I definitely think it could be transposed, to a modern environment. I think we can, draw lines from the farmers to Wall Street and the cowboys to.
Absolutely, you could totally make a ton of analogies about it, but at the end of the day, it wasn't like I felt like there was a massive conflict between everybody because of this.
Well, but here's where. No, there's not a lot of conflict in the movie altogether, which is another interesting thing about it. Like very minimal overall.
Yeah.
But then there's that other character where there is conflict, and who is almost beneath either class. You know what I mean? He's even beneath the cowboys, the hired hands.
Yeah.
And like the way he's depicted, it's almost like lower than dirt to some degree.
Sure.
And it's like this whole other third thing. I mean, like I think about the auction scene, and like nobody wants him to. He has every right to win one of those baskets.
Right.
Every right, as much as anybody.
Right.
Nobody wants him to win.
Right.
Nobody at all. Now, the way that Rod Steiger played the role is a little different than the way it's meant to be. First of all, there's another song that the character has, a solo, that was cut from the movie, and the character, as played by Shuler Henson in the most recent one, is a little more identifiable. Whereas Rod Steiger basically played him as a heavy to some degree. Like he gave him pathos, but not as much as Rod Steiger usually gives. With that said, he has much right to win that, and like nobody like. At one point, Ann Eller even says, "Come on, be reasonable," as if you don't deserve this basket. It's just like a basket of food, but it means it's the climax of the movie in a number of ways. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Davey Joe, do you want to jump in?
I mean, I see what you're saying. That and you know, thinking about it, it may be one of the reasons why the movie doesn't work for me. It's I don't know, the bad guy is in many ways, he's kind of, you kind of feel bad for him.
You're supposed to feel bad for him.
Yeah, except he's, you know, I don't know, man. He didn't behave in a way that made any sense in some ways to me. And that kind of bothered me. I mean, I don't
know. I mean, I think it did it for me in the sense that he's all like, if I were directing it, like, you know, I would say he's very much id. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like some people just sort of operate on id alone, especially the undereducated. You know?
Yeah, I mean, the motivation to win the basket didn't seem at that point in the film. I wasn't feeling it. Wasn't entirely sure why he was doing that.
Well, I mean, I have a theory on that, but let's see if J Money does.
Yeah, well, I think that they needed a villain in this movie, and I think that basically the movie came out at a point, you know, sort of post-Dust Bowl, sort of post-Depression, where it was trying to embrace the future.
No, it's pre-Dust Bowl.
It was pre-Dust Bowl? I thought it was post-Dust Bowl.
No. Pre-Dust Bowl.
Well, when it came out, I think you're saying, though, right?
Oh, well, you're saying when it came out.
Yeah, when it came out.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So I guess in a sense I was thinking that they were trying to embrace the idea of pulling yourself up by the bootstraps and being, you know, proactive, and they made the clodhopper the bad guy because he represented all the bad things that had happened in the past. You know, the things that they were all trying to get away from.
That the audiences were trying to get away from because it hadn't happened yet in Oklahoma.
Right. No, not in the actual storyline, but in terms of the presentation to the audience afterwards. You know, because it came out. When did it come out again, JB? 30-something?
The movie is 1955.
55.
But the actual original play.
1943.
43.
So I don't understand that statement as much, but I mean, I think as far as, you know, character stuff with the baskets, I mean, like, they are wrongly attaching Laurie's heart to the basket. You know what I mean? Like, they're not bidding for the food. You got that part.
That I got, yeah.
But I mean, well, that's you asked about the motivation, and that's, I mean, like, it's the natural competitive nature of, especially, you know, these guys who are undereducated. In fact, Judd, quite frankly, is more educated than half the Cowboys, it seems, or is certainly more street savvy than a lot of the Cowboys. Poor Will. And it's interesting, you know, like, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, like, you know, but I believe that the character, like, I would not put that much emphasis on the basket, but I believe that the characters would, you know? Like, I bought that.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, they have to have something. I mean,
so what do you mean by that?
Going on in this film.
Say that again?
There's so little going on in this film. It feels like you have to attach symbolism and importance to all these everyday activities.
Well, I mean, like, what do you mean by so little? Because a lot happens, but I mean, like, it doesn't. Does it need to be like really, like? I mean, it does wind up being life or death, but I mean, like, does it need to be that throughout? I mean, like, in 3/4 of the movie, it's just like everyday lives, and what's wrong with that?
Nothing. I don't have any problem with that. I'm just saying that in general. What I'm saying is
on the subject, and I showed the picture earlier, but let's show it again. What about this poor Judd number? I'm surprised that Davey didn't get a little more excited about this. I think it's a brilliant piece of songwriting. No.
No. I actually have notes about the music in this. Well, I guess in the play, but in the film. This scene though that is it on the screen now? I'm sorry. This scene this scene drove me crazy. I did the way they worked the song in just drove me nuts. I mean, he's just kind of like, why don't you kill yourself? And he's
but
like,
I mean, that's the question. I mean, like, do you think he meant that?
It's so bizarre. Like it's just.
But it's bizarre cool.
No, I didn't think so. I mean, I think it could be done well. I think it could be like a kind of a biting thing or a funny thing or a sarcastic thing, but they played it so straight, the two of them together. It just.
I mean, well, I disagree. I mean, I feel like there was layers going on. Do I believe Curly actually thought that Judd should kill himself? No, I don't think that was actually his intent.
Yeah.
J Money. You seem to, based on your facial expressions, because you forget I can see you, even though you can't see me. It seems like you're siding with Davy Joe on this.
No, I was just looking at my empty wine bottle. I think that I think that Curly. Actually does have.
Anybody there?
I'm here. I'm here.
Did you guys lose me?
I don't know. I didn't hear a word of what you said though.
Well, that works out well for you in the end.
Okay, maybe, but lay it on me again.
What I was saying was that I don't know what Curly's intentions were, because I think Curly might have actually been intending ill will against Judd. But I think it's such a bizarre, like you're saying, it's a bizarre scene one way or the other. Like I don't know how you cannot enjoy the scene. It's just so orchestrated in a weird way. Like Curly's reaction to Judd doesn't really make sense to me. Judd's reaction to Curly doesn't really make sense to me. Nothing really makes sense, but that's what's so enjoyable about it.
I mean, I'm sort of on board with that analysis. But I mean, like, I think that Curly is fucking with him, and because I mean, like, here's the thing. Oh, sorry. Jeez. Wow. Everybody's really immature. Like, they're kids. Don't forget, like, they look older, except, actually, Judd's probably older than all of them. They're kids.
Yeah.
They're like, Laurie's supposed to be 16. In fact, quite frankly, Shirley Jones was only 19 at the time she made the role. She played the role. Fascinating story how Shirley Jones got involved, but that's maybe for another time. So, yeah, I mean, I think that, I mean, like, he's just, like, he doesn't, and he's so young and immature, he's not necessarily seeing, like, real impact there, you know what I mean? Like, but that's also another example of this classism point of view. He looks down on Judd, so I feel like he did kill himself, who cares? You know, like, he doesn't have that sort of, like, he's not grown up enough to really, he hasn't experienced death or anything like that to the point where, like, he has that sort of attachment to life. Everything is picking is bells and balls and cows and like playing tricks on Laurie and like everything. It's all fun and games at that point in the story, and he's just fooling around.
Which is part of the romanticized concept of the West at that point. I mean, in real life, you would expect cowboys to kind of mess around with each other that way, but I think that their portrayal of them in this situation is so squeaky clean that it makes his motivation for pushing Judd down that path kind of questionable to me. I mean, I thought that initially that he was trying to empathize with Judd in a way to get the upper hand over Judd from an emotional point of view, but I'm really not sure. I really don't know what the point of that song was, other than the fact that it was just kind of funny and it was kind of a fun scene. And I think that's ultimately kind of the
I think there's a lot of layers to it, which I really enjoy. But that's sort of, like we talked about immaturity and like the West. So one more thing before we get into the performances and things like that, because there are other things I want to talk about. And we're running out of time. But this concept, and real quickly, PreState Optimism. This concept is that I put down here that you sort of touched on inadvertently, I think, a couple times, Davey. Not Davey, J Money. Because and I think the knowledge of because this film takes place in 1906.
Sure.
And Oklahoma becomes a state in 1907, and I think the undercurrent of the impending Dust Bowl is there. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like almost to what you were saying is, I think the more pure and lovely and American, quote unquote, that Oklahoma seems at the time. By the way, they shot in Arizona. There are no real mountains of that size.
It does not look like Oklahoma, by the way.
I know.
But that's beside the point. But the Americana setting, like all that sort of romanticized nature of it, I think is this sort of purposeful, nostalgic look with this underpinning of the Dust Bowl is coming, and it's coming because of mistakes made during this period. Like, the Dust Bowl came because of bad farming. I mean, like, I guess it wasn't their fault. They just didn't know any better. But, like, mistakes they made as farming led to the dust storms and so forth and so on that they caused them to have to leave their farms, starting in approximately 1934. So, I feel like that's a part of it. Like, that's part of, like, the brighter it seems, like, I feel like the darker it comes, and there's little moments where you sense it coming, and there's this scene at the end which I think is beautifully directed by Fred Zinnemann, where and it's beautifully directed because he puts the camera towards the window and Laurie's back is to us, and Ann Eller has to turn and talk to her, and it's after the denouement, if you will. Mm-hmm. And Laurie's like, I didn't realize things could happen like that. Like, what's gonna happen? You know what I mean? Like, there's this optimism, but it's a false optimism because there's a lot of trouble. I bet Curly's gonna become a farmer, and he's gonna, in a sequel, would probably be closer to Grapes of Wrath.
Yeah, right.
So anyway, before we move on, anything on this PreState Optimism?
I would love to say that I thought the original creators of this story were that cynical. I would love to say that I think that because I think what you're saying is a really sophisticated, sort of relatively cynical idea to sort of juxtapose the bright, happy, surreal cheeriness of this movie with knowing that these characters are going to go through that sort of impending doom. I want to buy that theory. I don't know if I entirely buy that theory. I think part of the reason that this movie this concept of the show itself became so popular was because in '43 I could see why there'd be a lot of American audiences that would love to gravitate back towards a romanticized, clean version of what America was, and why in like McCarthy era or '50s there'd be a lot of film audiences that would love to also go back to that romanticized version. I think that the opening song, "Oh What a Beautiful Morning," how much does that play directly into the idea of mourning in America, for that matter? There are so many things about the cleanness of American history.
I think it plays into exactly what I was saying.
Well, but it seemed like to me what you were saying was that the original creators of this were talking about all the mistakes that were going to happen, whereas I was
saying that like they were nostalgically painting this picture of this free and open territory to sort of counterbalance where Oklahoma would go as a state. Like the struggles that they had come.
Yeah, but then that would suggest they're doing this to almost warn people against the naivety that brings about this terrible counterbalance, right?
That's one way to look at it. Or you could also suggest that maybe simpler, like maybe the suggestion is like, simpler is better. You know what I mean? Like, the simple life, it might not be all that bad. Maybe it was a happier time. The less we know, ignorance is bliss, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Well, I guess that's why I'm saying I think that I can understand why audiences would respond so well to it back in the 40s and then again back in the 50s. It just seemed like it really hit a nerve.
Yeah. Davey, anything on this PreState Optimism? I know there's other things that we want to talk about.
No, I'm good.
He's got nothing. All right. You said you wanted to talk about the song, so you've got notes on the songs. Take it
Oh
away,
yeah.
Davey.
Well, I mean, clearly, just about every song in this movie has made its way into the Great American Songbook. I think that the most important, and this is just one man's opinion, most important song in this movie is "Three with the Fringe on Top." It's always been.
I was going to ask you to pick a favorite, so I guess.
By far and away. I mean, Oscar Peterson, Miles Davis, Wes Montgomery, Nat King Cole. They've all done amazing things with this song, and it's always been one of my favorites. So you definitely had to get that in this conversation.
Hi, Vanessa.
Wow, I assume that was sarcasm.
No, I don't think he intended sarcasm.
No, not at all.
Thank you. And then the guys, the Netflix came for the CMS on Saturday. Can't tell you what it is. J Money's not coming. Thank you, Vanessa.
Okay.
And Greg. Hi, Greg. Everybody remembers Greg from before. You can't see him right now. But we're talking about Oklahoma. I tagged you guys in the.
Oh yeah, because we watched.
They were there at the CMS. Do you guys have a quick synopsis? You were a fan, as I recall, were you?
Yeah, I watched it as a kid. I liked it.
Vanessa's a fan. Greg was surprised by it. He was one of the people surprised.
I was surprised.
Yeah,
See,
he kind of liked it.
He kind of liked it, and that's the confirmation.
I found my toe tapping every once in a while.
He found his toe tapping. Well, we were just talking about the songs. Even Davey, who did not like the film, liked the music. And yeah, I mean, one thing that strikes me about this musical is every single song. And this is not true. We talked about White Christmas when I did my Christmas top 5. That the songs that there were some great songs and some missed. Not a single miss in this whole score. And it's kind of an amazing achievement. So what's your favorite, J Money?
I'm a sucker for the big ones. So I guess I would say the classic Oklahoma OK is one. It's whatever comes to mind for me ultimately. Oh, What a Beautiful Morning is a wonderful song in and of itself for so many reasons.
For sure. The fun note about Oklahoma is they wrote that the day they did not have it in the original show. Like the day before it opened in New Haven, they wrote it overnight. They were like, we need something else, and they wrote, and now it's the Oklahoma State song.
Wow, that's crazy.
So they wrote it overnight, and now it's one of their more famous songs. Sorry, that's my lighting. So my favorite is actually "People Will Say You're in Love." I mean, I think the interplay. I mean, I'm a romantic, and the interplay. And Rodgers and Hammerstein always have, they have a very formula to their biggest musicals, and there's always a song between the lead couple that's like, I love you but I don't type things, or I don't love you but I do, and this is obviously the prototypical example of that. I think it's beautiful song, it's fun, and the melody's great, and it's really cool. And the voices on the whole cast, I mean, Gordon McRae is an amazing voice. I mean, and Shirley Jones, I think the great songs well sung. I don't have time to really talk about the direction. I really wanted to talk about some of Fred Zinman's work, but I mean, the other thing that stood out about Oklahoma when the stage production came out was the choreography. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit, and the work of Agnes DeMille. And her most famous piece is the ballet in the middle of the production, but this is an example of some work she did for Many a New Day. But what do you guys think about Agnes DeMille's work here, the choreography, and also the inclusion, which was revolutionary in 1943? By 1955, Singing in the Rain and American Paris had done similar things, but they'd stole it from Oklahoma, the stage production. So, I mean, I think the ballet personally is an amazing work of art in and of itself. In the middle of this terrific movie, I'm curious to think what Davey has to say about it.
Not much. I found the dancing in this movie to be very good, but not memorable. Nothing really sticks with me. Sorry.
Okay. I mean, okay. Sorry. I think it's pretty special. J Money.
I mean, that ballet scene specifically is just so crazy. It's so weirdly intense.
But I mean, it's crazy, in a great way. I think it's so artistic and
absolutely. I guess I don't often say this.
Wish I could. Oh, the Kansas City is Vanessa's saying.
Kansas City is a great scene. Yeah, with a lot of great dancing.
In terms of dancing, especially, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The athletic dancing, and that's the fun thing about Gene Nelson, who played Will. He was a dancer first, and so he was the perfect guy to play Will. Although he played Will with the proper amount of aplomb and stupidity, to be frank, like in a charming way. Like I like his performance a lot. So all right, so we covered this choreography. So let's move on to the brackets because we don't have a lot of time here. So it's time for the brackets, and I have to find the appropriate. Why don't you guys talk about the performances while I do this?
All right, yeah, I got stuff to say about the performances.
Take it away.
Take it away.
Getting back to the Merchant. The thing that drove me crazy is I feel like he was doing his best Pepe Le Pew, and every time he was on the screen, I just wanted to leave the room. Like I just couldn't take it.
You didn't enjoy that?
No, not at all. Not at all. But I
disagree. I mean, I was marveling when we were watching it that I liked every performance in this movie. Like I think they're all perfect for the roles. Like, and I think that's Fred Zinnemann has a lot to do with that. Especially Shirley Jones. It's her first movie, and like she's a young ingenue, but she's perfect for the right ingenue. She's a future Oscar winner. She would win an Oscar 5 years later. The one of course everybody knows her from the Partridge Family now.
The one positive thing we got to talk about real quick is the carriage scene. I mean, come on, man, it's an incredible scene.
The runaway carriage, you mean?
Yes. I mean, it's amazing. One
of the more the action scene really in the movie.
But it's really good, and I actually backed it up and watched that again. That was
super good.
That's something that sticks out. Even if you're not a lover of the film, you gotta give it credit there. That was.
Anybody you got anything?
What else?
No.
Davy Joe.
Okay, let's move on. It's time for the classic movie Showdown, everybody, and those of you who are not initiated yet with this segment. But basically, we have all these brackets similar to the NCAA tournament, where we, compare movies. We have all different sorts of brackets, one for each decade, and genre brackets, brackets of Best Picture winners, Best Actor winners, and so forth and so on. And so David does such a good job of this. We're going to let him read the rules for the classic movie Showdown in as creative a way as he can.
If I could do a good Persian accent, but I can't. Seating criteria.
Well, neither did Eddie Albert, so
no, that's true.
That's fine.
So you're good.
Seating criteria varies from bracket to bracket. The films are at JB-hosted screenings need to be at least 15 years or older. We got to update that. It says 2000 now. We can get into 2001.
Well, that's a really good point. 2001 films are now eligible. J Money, can you read a new graphic?
Oh yeah, I'll have to do that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure.
Voters are eligible if they see both films within a 12-month period. They must see it in JB's presence, and JB is ineligible to vote unless the vote matters. He can break ties.
Pretty good. What do you got? I mean, and I want to hear back from you, the audience, to see how. I want feedback on how Davey's reading those rules, how he's getting that information across. So this week we have the musicals. This is a musical bracket, and Oklahoma is a number 3 seed going up against number 14 seed Purple Rain, the musicals. And one interesting thing I want to point out about Purple Rain is it's another rare movie where, and as far as musicals go, every song is awesome. I mean, at least that's my feeling.
Confirmed.
So Davey confirms that. It sounded like J Money grunted. Let's go with Davey first, since we already know he doesn't like Oklahoma. What would you choose in this scenario?
Oh, Purple Rain. Purple Rain in a runaway.
Oh my God.
So you actually like Purple Rain?
I do. I like it very much.
I mean, like, the music is great, but the rest of the movie is inane.
Oh, come on. Yeah, no,
What's fascinating is, like, you say "come on" to this completely inane movie, Purple Rain, whereas, like, Oklahoma seems inane to you.
You know what? Purple Rain just kind of sticks out to me. It's kind of special. It's a neat film, and the first of all.
But I mean, and you want to talk about bad acting?
Oh yeah, let's talk about bad acting. Yeah, you're right. No, there's no question.
Let me show you one more photo. I mean, you would talk about bad acting. This is just one, and his parents and those scenes. I don't want to tip.
It kind of had a Highlander feel to it. Like it was definitely a B genre film, but it worked. It just worked for me, and I think although I do take issue because I don't think it's and I know that you don't make these brackets, or I don't think that I don't think it's a musical in the kind of way that I think of a musical, because there are renditions of songs. They're just people on stage performing songs. It's not.
Well, I mean, like any musical made past 1970, that's true of Cabaret as well. Every song in Cabaret, from 1972, is performed on stage. Is that not a musical?
I mean, to me, a musical is the story itself, the dialogue. A lot of it, or some of it, at any rate, happens in song. That's just.
I don't think that's true, and especially anything past 1972. That's not really the case.
Well, I think what David Joe is maybe saying is that this is more like a jukebox musical in the sense that it was already or it was released as an album regardless. Like it wasn't really songs that were written for a musical. It was songs that were written for an album and they put it into a musical, which is different. It's a different situation.
Whatever. I like the movie a lot, and
that's funny that you mentioned that, because that's how musicals were done before Oklahoma, like on stage. Is Gershwin just write a bunch of musicals and they would write a story around it. That's one of the ways in which Oklahoma as a play revolutionized musical theater as we know it.
Oh, well, there you go.
So, J Money, you're saying are you saying Purple Rain isn't a musical?
No, that's not at all what I'm saying. I'm trying to understand where David Joe is coming from. I'm really curious where David Joe, did you grow up with Purple Rain?
No, I had never seen it until
You've never seen it before, right? So
ago.
you watched it blank, and this is your reaction?
I did. I didn't think I was gonna like it, but I really did.
That's fascinating to me because I'm the same way. I was not familiar at all with it before this, so I watched it for the first time, and I had a very opposite reaction to you, apparently. I mean, I think that I think it's a terrible movie. It's a great Prince movie. It's a very cheesy, weird movie in and of itself, and you can appreciate the B quality of it, but no, I do not consider it a good movie in any sense of the word. I'm
almost between you two. Like, I agree with pretty much everything you said, except I have to admit that when he finally gets to playing Purple Rain, I feel something. Like, I feel like the movie earns that moment, but like there a lot of stuff that happened before it. And we screened it in New York in November, I think. And Jay Money, you were not at that screening.
I was not at that screening, no.
But that was also the first time I had seen it.
Oh wow! So we're all relatively new to it.
We've all seen it for the first time within the last 3 months, but I mean, like, some of the performances, Prince included, are so bad, and Morris Day is not funny.
Terrible. But so, are you guys familiar with Prince in general?
Oh sure, like I knew all the songs.
Okay, I did not. I'm not really familiar with that much with Prince. I never really bothered to find out about Prince.
Did you not like the music?
I am, what I would say is that I understand why people like Prince, and I will respect that, but it's not the kind of music that I personally really react to or connect with.
What artist would you like to see make a musical?
I don't know, Beethoven? I don't know. That's a good question. I mean...
No, current artist.
Current artist? I would love to see... That's too hard. You're putting me on the spot now. I'm blanking. I don't even know.
Well, think about it. Maybe we'll circle back to it.
All right.
You have one?
Well, no, but I do have a quote about Prince. Miles Davis once called him the next Duke Ellington, which is
Look, I don't think anyone's denying Prince's talent as a musical artist.
No. Okay. But I mean, I think people who out there are all our legions of viewers who may not be familiar with him, just to.
Well, thanks for looking up a quote.
Like I got Prince a lot more after watching this film. I really did, and I guess I understand why I don't necessarily like the music so much. Is because I understand where the synthesis is coming from now. I'm just not a fan of what it ends up being. But
the movie is problematic in a lot of ways. The best part about the movie is the last 10-15 minutes on stage. I mean,
Well-
like that's the only real good part about the movie.
Let me say this. I don't think it's a good movie, but I enjoyed watching it. I think it's an incredibly cheesy, weird film.
And what
And
about
from that
the
point of
opening
view-
on stage? The opening on stage is incredible too.
Yeah, there's so many really great
Opening's not
fucked up
bad.
scenes.
The Let's Go Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good too. But I mean, like, in the opening, like, it's just the familiarity of hearing the song that I've heard for 30 years. When at the ending, like, I actually felt something different. Like, I felt like the ending was earned. And then we had a 23-year-old at that screening. I think, and Jim and I think knows who I'm talking about. With two actually, he and his girlfriend. And they were not familiar with Prince really much at all, and so they actually really enjoyed the film.
That's great.
More than I did. And Greg, were you at Purple Rain, Greg?
Well,
You were not at Purple Rain. Have you seen Purple Rain?
no, not the whole thing.
No, he hasn't seen it. So anyway, it's fair to say then that J Money, you would vote for Oklahoma?
I would vote for Oklahoma, I guess because I also feel like it's just a more important film, but I guess that's also debatable for a lot of people. I mean, there's a whole generation that consider Purple Rain to be very seminal and very important. And I understand it was incredibly popular. I understand that Prince is incredibly popular, even though I don't necessarily connect with the music in the same way. I can see where the appeal is for this movie. So
I mean, the soundtrack was much more popular than the film. The box office didn't do amazing.
It did pretty
I think
well.
it did. Yeah, it actually did really well.
It actually did really well. Yeah.
It wasn't like top 10 of the year or anything.
I don't know.
No, I think it made like some kind of crazy 80 million or something.
It made a
They
lot of
spent
money
like
back.
nothing to make it too.
I'll have to
Yeah.
double check. It was very low cost. That is true.
It was very low cost, and there was a massive hit. Did you guys, any of you guys see Graffiti Bridge? I'm just really curious.
I want to see it now. I haven't seen
The
it.
sequel? Oh my God. I can't even imagine sitting through it.
I see. Now I'm really curious. I want to see Graffiti Bridge just because I think it'd be fun to watch it. But
Didn't he direct that?
yeah, he did. It was his first
direct
direct.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
He did not direct Purple Rain though. So,
Did not direct Purple
J
Rain.
Money's with Oklahoma, right? So we have a tie here. And J Money did not, because J Money did not come to the Purple Rain screening. He did not get to participate in the vote that actually determines it. So the people that came to the Purple Rain screening and the Oklahoma screening, which we had, I guess, 3 months apart, two and a half months apart, they were the people that got to vote, and this is what they chose.
Ah, yes. Yes.
They
That
were
is
on the Purple Rain
awesome.
train, and a lot of them almost voted for it, like in spite of themselves. Like there was
Really?
I got a lot of. I have to say it. I just had more fun at Purple Rain, and I think there's something about. I grew up with the Oklahoma song. I grew up with show tunes.
Yeah.
And these folks grew up with Prince, and a lot of people, almost everyone's younger than me these days. So a lot of these folks are younger than me, and as a result, that's what happens. I didn't experience Prince in the same way in 1984. I was aware of Prince, but I was more aware of Gordon McRae and Shirley Jones, quite frankly. It was a big upset. Purple Rain wins. Oklahoma is, like Jay Money says, one of the more important musicals and musical films in history. So it's a big upset for Purple Rain to win. And the debate it was close, and the debate rages on. But I particularly thought it was a pretty good matchup in that sense. Like the debate was pretty heated, as it was here tonight.
Fair enough. I did think there were some interesting parallels. I mean, and it's not because anything that Purple Rain did was so outside the box at the time it did it, but they both really relied on sort of natural settings. And in Oklahoma, it seems incredibly weird to rely on natural settings. It seems incredibly impressive that they shot outside for a lot of things. And in Purple Rain, they go to a lot of outside sort of settings that don't at all seem like they gel with the style of the film or the music itself to me. So there's a lot of weird...
it was very scrapped together. Some of those
Yeah.
scenes were shot in Los Angeles, some of them were shot in Minneapolis. It was very all over the place.
It was a weird juxtaposition of a lot of different elements that didn't quite make sense.
Yeah. All right, guys. So I'm going to wrap things up now.
Okay.
That is our discussion of Oklahoma. We're doing brackets. Oklahoma's eliminated from the musicals competition. It's been eliminated from a few brackets actually, sadly. But I guess to Davey's delight. Our next classic. Actually, before we go on, let me just. I remember. Our next classic is another play adaptation. Actually, similar to tonight, it's another play adaptation, which in and of itself is an adaptation of a play. So it's an adaptation of adaptation, and I'll explain that on the next broadcast, which is February 8th, and our classic discussion will be at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Next up, in about 5 minutes, right here, right now, we're going to have our sound off, our freeform segment, which Davey over there is going to have a little diatribe, and I'm going to quiz him on some Hollywood topics. And J-Money, you doing anything?
I'm just going to show up.
So, and then I'm going to do my top 5 alien invasion films of all time. And that's coming up in our freeform segment, coming up very shortly. We will see you then.